Wedding planners, what is the weirdest couple you've ever met? I had one wedding where the bride told the groom aloud at the altar, "I'm not really that in love with you." The look on his face. He tried to laugh it off and told her to hush, but he was tearing up as they walked away. Ooh. Not a wedding planner, but attended a wedding of this super rich acquaintance. It was a large venue to accommodate around 1,500 to 2,000 guests, pretty common in my culture. The theme for all wedding festivities was, "Don't ask why." 50 Shades of Grey. Right from calling each other my Mr. Grey and my Ms. Steele. Right from masks to fans and color themes. The entire place was decked up following that theme. Not to mention, as you enter the venue, there was a pictorial depiction of their journey set to the same theme. I have some great memories explaining this to my super conservative parents. Edit. Grammar. I had a couple hire me in the night of our first consultation. They bickered and got a little inappropriate. Maybe they thought it was funny. But they were strangers and I met them in my home and I found having them there uncomfortable. It seemed clear that they didn't know one another very well and it looked to me to be a green card kind of situation. I would bet money that they are no longer together. Not a planner. But how about the lady in Gaw who tried to slander a wedding venue and had all her friends write negative reviews on their website, FB page and reddit.com. From the above link. Some backstory. A few days ago, a bride made a whole website about her experience with a local wedding venue, claiming that they were trying to force her to go through with her March wedding during this pandemic, and that they weren't offering her the choice to reschedule unless it was to a Monday or Tuesday. Among many other false claims. If you want to, you can read her website here. And yes, she really bought a whole domain name just to make and share this site. Her website got shared by a lot of her friends and family, and eventually made its way around local Facebook groups, which of course meant there were a lot of angry people attacking the venue, giving them negative reviews, and trying to destroy their business. So many people were sharing this girl's post, warning people to stay away from and beware of this venue. The bride even made a Facebook post encouraging everyone to leave them bad reviews, and to remind everyone to make sure they're negatively reviewing the correct venue. Well, the venue deactivated their Facebook to try and prevent the damage of tons of fake bad reviews coming in. But tonight they reactivated it and posted their response, complete with a recorded phone call between them and the bride. Bridezilla isn't even a good enough word to describe how insane this girl is. I can't believe how calm and gracious the venue owner was throughout this conversation. And I'm so glad she exposed this nasty girl for all her lies. Oof. I had a couple whose last name, in another language, literally means penis, which was actually really fitting, because they were epic D words for that. Yup. The guy would hit on me, all the female waitstaff, and even the company's owner's mother, who was 65, whenever his fiancée left the room. Not just harmless flirtations. I mean like legit vulgar propositions. That wasn't even the worst part though. They had this request that we save all the bottles of beer, wine, and liquor from the event because the husband and his groomsmen were going to melt them down and make out of them in various styles to be used on the bride after they were married. That was the last wedding I helped coordinate. I left that company as soon as that wedding was done. Former wedding coordinator for a very small, very high-end company. You can make a lot of assumptions just on observing someone's wedding morning. Most memorable. Not weird, but terrible in all ways. Also possibly socially inept. This bride and groom were clearly both so rich and so entitled their entire lives that they didn't know how to function properly. The bridal party suite in a penthouse hotel room in downtown Chicago was silent except for a comment here and there from the bride's mother about it being a big day. The bride complained about everything. The mimosa being strong. The water being room temp. The bagels being bagels instead of fruit. Everything. She didn't respond when I asked her questions, and instead looked at a bridesmaid with annoyance to answer for her. The groom's suite was trashed with liquor bottles and they were walking around in boxers 5 minutes before photos. I told them we had 5 minutes. And the groom drunkenly responded, Hey, I am pretty sure I am really important today. It's not going to happen without me. And it's not happening in 5 minutes. And then the guys decided to slide down the back stairwell banister instead of take the elevator to the lobby. One of the groomsmen didn't go with them and told me I really needed to take control of the guys, otherwise why were they paying me? Oh, and groom's mom came into the suite with her dress, which showed almost all of her, and said, How do I look, boys? They all hooped and hollered for her. I had to stifle a laugh. 0 tenths would not recommend. I can see it now. Married couples going straight to the comments to see if their wedding planner posted about them. TBH, every time I get a couple that seems to enjoy the wedding process, it's amazing. Why y'all marrying people you can't problem solve with? I swear to God, that's an expensive mistake you're about to go into 30K debt with. I am not a wedding planner, but I manage events at the facilities I currently work at, and we had a wedding where the groom wore a 3-piece tux. All white. With banana yellow Converse and a banana yellow bow tie. His groomsmen wore all black with banana yellow Converse and ties. Throughout the wedding service, the groomsmen would hold up emoji signs reacting to things that were happening, each holding up puke emojis when they kissed. When it came time to get the rings, the best man acted like he had lost it when suddenly a man in the audience stood up and threw a frisbee with the ring taped to it to the groom. They were all avid frisbee golfers. The frisbee was also their guest book, signed by everyone who came. The thing that saddened me is it seemed the bride really did not want to be marrying the groom. One of her bridesmaids came to me before the wedding asking for any snacks for the bride because she felt like she was gonna throw up from crying so much. I hope the best for them in the future, but it was all a little hard to watch. I'm a chef for a caterer, event planner. US based. We coordinate everything for the couples, unless they choose not to. We always learn the crazy stuff about the couple direct from the person who has been meeting with them for months and is coordinating the night of. Or we saw it firsthand if it happened at the wedding itself. One couple got married in a gorgeous old venue. No alcohol, very odd. No music. No dancing. The couple had their actual first kiss after the vows. They barely looked at each other the whole night. A waitstaff found the officiant's wife crying on the floor, not knowing if she could keep doing it. She pleaded for a drink, which we didn't have because it was a dry ceremony. Then she disappeared for a while. We think they might have all been in a cult. But that info wasn't relevant to the booking, so we can't know. Honestly, that is just the first one that comes to mind. After 7 years doing this, you see some weird. I worked at a tux place. I was measuring a groom and his best man. The whole time the best man was saying awful things about the bride. Finally the groom said something along the lines of, "Oh well. That's what divorce is for." I had one girl who wanted the guests to pay for the expenses. She needed $900 per person. I don't think she got a single yes to her invitations. She asked me to lower my costs. At that point I kindly asked her to get another person to help her. I don't know what happened after that. Maybe she canceled the thing. I've had a few weird couples for sure. The one that comes to mind first is one that is getting married later this year. The bride and groom are around 19 to 20 and they act like children. Like the bride literally will only talk in a baby voice to her parents who hover over everything. They also pick to go with Spider-Man and Beauty and the Beast as their theme. Yes, they want both to be depicted and not in a fun adult interpretation of it. But in like wanting to use party supplies that you would use for a kid's birthday. My venue also rents out a fog machine that can be used for the first dance. We had this one groom that was obsessed with ninjas and wanted to try to hide in the fog and jump out and do crazy karate moves and such. It was weird. Those are the only ones that stand out to me. But I've definitely dealt with a lot of weirdos. Ooh, I've had some good ones. I had the groom who wanted the minister to do the speak now or forever hold your peace thing. At which point the groom would reveal the gun holstered on his belt by lifting up his suit jacket. I nixed that immediately. The bride was perfectly normal and sweet and I honestly worried that she was in an abusive relationship. Then there was the father of the bride who was a very strict Presbyterian and was hosting a dry wedding for 225 guests and reprimanded me for using the words cocktail hour. Like, yes sir, I understand there will be no alcohol served at this wedding but it's still called cocktail hour. He also wanted 225 prime ribs served in 20 minutes, which was impossible with the size of our kitchen. He was a condescending. Then there was the mother of the groom that pretty clearly didn't like the bride. And didn't want to pay 1 penny more than she had to for the rehearsal dinner, which turned out to be a rehearsal luncheon. She decided on a deli buffet menu, make your own sandwich style. Per person. Didn't even splurge for the $15 per person version, which would have gotten her some potato salad and desserts. She also liked to call me on my cell phone at 7:30 a.m. Well before I was in the office. I stopped answering her calls until she would call my office phone. All in all, though most of my couples were perfectly normal and nice. I honestly had more trouble with parents than I did with couples. I met this couple who was so obsessed with the movie Back to the Future. They rented the original DeLorean from the film and the groom entered the ceremony inside the car. The really weird part was they named their child Calvin. Calvin was the name Marty had. He went back in time in the 1950s. Not particularly a wedding planner. However, I was a wedding photographer at one of those cheesy wedding chapels on the Strip in Las Vegas. The story I remembered most was this couple who got married. It was business as usual. We didn't think much of it. Had the service and took the photos. We told them to return the next day for photos. The next morning we get a call from the groom, we will call James, saying that his new wife, Emily, threw him out of the car last night and left him on the side of the road. We come to find out James wasn't an American citizen, so he essentially paid Emily, I believe, $10,000 so he can start the process of becoming a citizen. He was now asking if he could annul his wedding after being scammed out of $10K. It's fairly common you'd go online or even to other chapels to shop around to compare prices and the types of wedding packages other chapels offer, so a few months later we see Emily on another competitor's wedding website with a different guy. So we assumed she was making this a business, marrying dudes for money and leaving them high-end dry. I wish I had some more resolution to the story, however that's all I have on my end, other than that you encounter a lot of interesting walks of life doing Elvis-themed weddings, ceremonies with the occasional costume themes. I was a wedding coordinator intern at a local banquet hall once summer. The actual coordinator on staff would work with them for months, then I'd typically help out with the rehearsal and ceremony, reception the next day. We had one couple that we knew was going to have an interesting ceremony. We knew she was going to have elements around the hall that were woodsy and natural because she liked fairies. And also their best friend was going to marry them and it was his first time. They show up to rehearsal and she's in full fairy wings, and she confirmed that yes, she was going to wear them in the wedding. Sure. Whatever. We start getting a ceremony order together. Groom is super awkward and won't give a straight answer. Barely even looks us in the eyes. Bride has somehow failed to inform us that her parents are divorced and haven't spoken to one another in years. Great. That eventually gets worked out and they walk down the rehearsal aisle to the poor guy officiating. We tell the officiant he can practice what he wants to say or just skip it and cut to the ring exchange. Homeboy pulls out a stack of papers and proceeds to read a 25-minute speech. Bride looks like she wants to ascend to another plane, and the bridesmaids are barely containing themselves. They were nice and their wedding day was great and frilly and warm. Oh. And the officiant had them to their vows while he twirled a wand with streamers on it. What a weird weekend. I bartended a wedding of 2 trans-species people. She thought she was a pony. He was a centaur. They were pretty adamant.